you'll never ever be able to reach your full potential as well, because your full potential, especially when your echo chamber is so bad, when that is so bad and so problematic, the best person in that is probably what you believe to be the best thing you can achieve.
Certain people would naturally or forcefully put themselves in these echo chambers, for example, because they get that validation. That's what they're looking for.
There's a guy who essentially I was competing against. His technicals are better than me, far better than me. When I say technicals, I'm talking about things like marketing, sales, product, research. His technicals were on a mad level, but every single year in revenue, I used to beat him. Every single year, I still beat him in revenue because I'm able to perform at a higher level than he can.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Central and Co. But not Co as in Co, but Co as in
COO.
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, kefik.
Alhamdulillah. Today, we're going to open up a new concept that we've never spoken about in any of our episodes and even in our paid content. We're going to be talking about the dangers of echo chambers, inshallah ta'ala. Whether it's social media, friendships, family, even your workplace. These invisible walls trap you in a space where you hear only what they want you to hear, inshallah ta'ala. And we're going to show you just how dangerous this can actually be for your success and your performance, inshallah. So then the first question is, what is an echo chamber?
An echo chamber, more or less, is a chamber in which you hear specific echoes, right? So only what's being spoken is constantly being fed back, right? So you can imagine if in this room I say certain things, it's always the same situation, the same scenario. I'm always hearing the same things. The vision of life is narrow. Everything, my understanding of certain topics is narrow, right? So it's essentially, basically you being in a certain type of community, a certain type of space online where you only hear the opinions and the perspectives and how life works from that chamber, if you will, right? So that is essentially what an echo chamber is.
Okay, so I'm assuming then at a minimum level, what you're trying to do is essentially expand that chamber and bring in different ideas.
In some ways, yes. I think the first thing people need to understand is when it comes to your view of life, 9 out of 10 times, it's incorrect, right? Now, certain things are correct, I'm sure, yani, things Islamically. Even things, by the way, a lot of us have studied Islamically are incorrect as well from our childhood, which is the truth of the matter. But again, because we're stuck in that community, in our families, that's all we understand to be the truth until we actually go grow up and study. Now, this is something that we all understand, right? Because we had a certain perspective and certain understandings of life when we were young, when we were kids, right? We had certain things that our parents taught us, and that was our perspective, that was our understanding of life. Then we grew up, we went to school with other people, we went to secondary school, then we went to university, some of us, and then our opinions started shifting and changing automatically because again we started to meet more people with different backgrounds, etc. Someone who lives, let's say, in a country that isn't maybe very multicultural will have a complete different perspective to someone who lives in a country that has loads of people, like for example the West or Dubai, that has loads of different races and different types of people where you're used to mixing with different people. Like for example, where I'm from, Nigeria, it's predominantly Nigerians. Where you're from, Kenya, it's predominantly Kenyans, right? So people who live there do have a set way of thinking about the world, and they also have set ways of thinking about how people in Kenya are from my side or how people in Nigeria are from your side. Does that make sense? So what people don't understand is, like I said, a lot of the times your opinion, your perspective, how you view life, what you believe to be true, not true, is incorrect a lot of the times.
So what are, let's say, like certain effects that can be made, negative effects, from having a bad echo chamber?
Of course, your perspective on life, number one, you'll never ever be able to reach your full potential as well, because your full potential, especially when your echo chamber is so bad, right, or your surroundings, etc. When that is so bad and so problematic, the best person in that is probably what you believe to be the best thing you can achieve. Does that make sense? Which is why majority of people like struggle, let's say, to become entrepreneurs if they've never seen someone or been around or have a family member who's an entrepreneur, because to them that's not a thing. So some people, what they aim for, what they want in their lives, honestly, is a 30k a year, a 30k per year salary. That's their goal. That's everything to them. And that's based off of the way they were raised. That's based off of their echo chamber. And that is something that's amazing to them, right? And again, similar concepts, right? When you look on the size of people's health, fitness, certain people, the way they live and indulge their lives, it's very unhealthy. It's sick. But to him, he believes that this is a good way to live. Again, it's because of his surroundings. It's led him to think that way.
If you are a 6, 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur who wants to learn how to scale or add an extra zero to their company using the laws of performance, then click the link in the description. For a long time, most entrepreneurs have been sold the dreams of learning more technicals, learning more sales, sales, more marketing, and that's never ever brought us to where we want it to be. And that is because you do not rise to the level of your technicals, you fall to your level of performance. If you're able to perform at the highest level, you can make a ridiculous amount of money for your company. Your technical skills are able to be reflected. So if you want to learn the laws of performance, then click the link in the description and book a call with myself.
Okay, so if we're gonna go, in fact, probably gonna go into this later, but I wanted to ask you more so in terms of between echo chambers in business specifically. Okay, but before we even get into that, the biggest thing that we can probably tell is your environment and most importantly, social media. Okay, social media is probably the biggest effect of how people think. Where a lot of the time you're speaking to someone and he thinks he's so independent in the way he reasons, in the way he speaks, in what he thinks about, what he likes, what he doesn't like, is all based on things that he sees on social media. So how do you feel like social media is an echo chamber? What are these echoes that people are hearing from social media?
Yeah, I think naturally, if you think of how the algorithm works, that's how it's meant to be, right? It feeds you content that you like, right? A majority of things that you agree with, and it engages you with other people who share the same opinions as you a lot of the times, right? So a Muslim's social media is going to be different to a non-Muslim's, etc. Does that make sense? A lot of the times you're going to be fed what? Things that you like. Now, sometimes, of course, they do feed you things that is, opposing to your belief systems, etc. Just so, argue, more engagement, more time spent on the app, etc. But a lot of the times it just links you with other people who think like you. Now, what you need to understand is echo chambers are good, can be good and can be bad, like all things, right? I leave myself purposely in certain echo chambers. Like I don't want to be in an environment full of non-Muslims, etc. blah, blah, because I understand it's not conducive to my success in any way, shape or form, Islamically speaking, right? But the real problem is you never ever hear or understand opposing views, right? So again, it starts to solidify your view on the world, which, like I mentioned, a lot of the times, the view, like I want you to think even from when you were bloody 10, 15, all right? Your view on the world now has completely warped. It's completely changed. Why? Because again, you left Ireland to study in Egypt. You started to meet different people of different cultures. You started to go extensively deep into business. Your view on life, money has changed. Like formerly, it could be that 100K was an incredible amount of sum of money to you to make in a year. I'm sure that's not the case anymore, right? So there's certain things that you now understand, your mind has now opened up to, similar to me, right? As we go older and as we start to open up what our chambers, we learn a lot more, right? Like I'll give you an example of this opinion people have that paying for information online is stupid. Right? Again, this is clearly as a result of his echo chamber, right? What he's used to listening to, what he's hearing. And a lot of the times I speak to people, why it's so clear for me to actually understand that this isn't his opinions, it's just what he's around. Because when you start to break down his arguments and the things that he talks about, and I've done this so many times, even with people with certain Islamic beliefs in Islam, right? And I start to break down the beliefs. They say, oh, don't listen to this guy or don't. And I start to ask, oh, why? Or why is that the case? All right? Yeah, and then they start to break it down and you break them down and even they realize that, I don't even know. It doesn't even make sense to me anymore. And this happens so commonly. This is why, I'm actually against bashing people's ideas, all right? I believe even Islamically, when I'm speaking to, non-Muslims, I'm against bashing their religion or bashing their ideas. I just believe if you ask enough of the right questions, they will realize what they're on is ridiculous, right? Same thing with how many of my clients have came through and I only solve their problems just by simply asking them questions. Because again, they're stuck in an echo chamber and they think, no, the problem is, because that's what they're being told, I need to run more ads. I need to increase my ad spend. I need to find a way to get a bit better return on ad spend. I need to focus on this. I need to focus on hiring a super team of 600 people, even though he literally is just starting his company. Because this is what social media is feeding him. This is what he's hearing online. And that ultimately shapes his mind, because very people actually understand that to scale your business, you need to scale you, right? It's not something that's popular. It's not a popular idea. In fact, like I told you, I would never sit there on a sales call or, and justify why performance is needed, right? Why every entrepreneur needs performance. It's low leverage for me and I won't waste my time. I only work with individuals that, again, understand, have tried everything now. They literally now have started to realize, look, I am the biggest bottleneck. And when he sees that, then we work with him. But a lot of the times they're stuck in this ego. No, it's this, that's the issue. And it's this. Even the last day, bro, we were at, obviously a sort of retreat. And one of the brothers, he just kept going. He goes, I don't see how performance can help. I goes, that's fine, right? You think that's your problem, so go solve it then. But what people don't realize is that can't be your main issue, because every bottleneck, I'll be honest with you, solving bottlenecks is so simple. It's so simple. You just need to get out of your echo chamber and of your way of thinking to solve the bottlenecks. The problem is, it's literally what we call it. We say you need to think outside the box. But because a lot of us are trapped inside this box, we can only see what these four sides, these four walls. Does that make sense?
The funny thing is, even when it comes to like analyzing a business, right? Like when we're looking at our own businesses and we're trying to see where the bottlenecks are, we go back to from the old program, the mind control principles again of like, how do I actually have the mental clarity, first of all, to be able to identify bottlenecks in my business, knowing exactly where the biggest constraint is right now. That is outside business. It doesn't even fall into the scope of business anymore because it goes back to you. Where do you see your accountability? Where do you see your personal flaws that could have led to the business going in a certain direction? So this is what I'm saying. Like you mentioned, for a lot of these guys, because maybe they've achieved something that based on their echo chamber is good. Like you're seeing someone telling you, yeah, making 30K, 40K a month, thinking, okay, yeah, you know, for most people around his environment, it's good. Do you know what I mean? But because he doesn't have that right mindset and understanding how to deal with situations, he just can't get to the next level.
That's honestly why I believe it's sitting with multiple different types of people, right? Because there was actually a study done by Sustain, essentially where he looks at it and he looks at essentially group polarization. It's actually interesting because the more time you spend in a specific echo chamber, a specific circle, the more extreme your beliefs become, right? Because again, it's the same people bouncing back off each other. So I'm telling you how important this thing is, and you're like, yeah, that's so important, and yeah, that's so important, and look, this is why. And it's only one perspective. Have you ever had such a strong idea on something, and just by speaking with one person with an opposing idea, it's, perhaps that's not the case anymore, right? It's very easy for you to delude yourself, right? Or it's very easy for people with the same or similar beliefs as you to delude you as well, right? To actually make you think, again, what you're preaching and what you believe in is so correct, and this is the way. And this is what happens when you never ever stick with people or talk with people outside circles. That's always what happens. You start to develop extreme beliefs in that thing, right? So I'll give you an example of even when I was stuck in an echo chamber, and one of the reasons I left Dundalk, I literally looked at my mum, and I goes, I'm never coming back here again, like to live, right? And she looked at me like, I goes, this place is destroying me, you don't understand, right? And she was so confused, like, what are you talking about? I goes, don't worry, it's not you. But it's more of a situation of, I was comfortable. Everyone is like, bigging me up in my hometown. I'm a young guy who's made it, blah, blah, made it, by the way. They make you feel like you're on top of the world, right? So when I was in my hometown, the praise, when I'm speaking to people, oh, you're really doing your thing, you're doing amazing. At this point, I don't even think I was revenuing 7 figures a year yet, right? It was 6 figures, alhamdulillah, which was considerably decent for my age. But when I was surrounding around that doesn't help you grow. In fact, when you're not growing, you have to understand it's either progressing or regressing. Right? It's strictly between the two. A lot of people seem to have the perspective, which is incorrect, that, you can sort of maintain, you can stay stationary at a level. That's not true, because we forget each day, right? There's things we forget. So naturally, if you're not topping up and revising, you're forgetting. It's natural, right? If you're not increasing your weight, naturally, a lot of times you're decrease, not increase. There's no stationary, right? It goes up or it goes down. Does that make sense? So when I was stuck in this surrounding or this echo chamber where they made me feel like a billionaire in my hometown, like I can do anything I want and I have everything, and I'm amazing, I've made it, my performance started to actually plummet, is the truth, right? My performance started to plummet, became very, very bad. I became comfortable. Everyone's telling you they're doing amazing. And then I started to step out of my circles, right? And I'm seeing guys that make what I make in a year, in a day. It's like, because hearing it online is different. When you sit with these people that are revenuing $1 million a day, or you sit with these people that are bringing in 25 million per year, it provides a little bit of perspective of like, you're doing good, but you're not doing anything, you're not doing amazing, right?
I even remember one of the brothers, because I started entrepreneurship way before this guy, right? And I remember he just came in out of nowhere. I didn't know he was doing this thing, long bad, because doing this thing on the side. But now he's coming in and I'm saying, okay, he made this like first 10, 15K, which is obviously like the first launch, and it's so exciting. That's the first bit of money that's not from a 9 to 5. And now I'm starting to see, okay, he's doing this and this, and everyone's just bigging him up. It's like, oh, yeah, Allahu Barak, you're doing this, you're doing this. But I'm looking at him, now he's getting comfortable again. I'm like, you're not where you want to be at all. And then I remember he joined the mind control program because he wasn't growing anymore. He was staying at the same point, and he was like, I didn't realize that there's so much more that can be done. And that's someone 15K, but we're talking even people that are doing 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, have thought that they've reached the level. When you're speaking with people that do that daily, it's like, and when you look at these people that are doing 6-figure daily and whatever, these like really, really high amounts of money, it's real. Do you know what I'm saying? But because we're never surrounded with these kinds of environment, you don't think it's possible for you.
How are you going to sit there? Like, bro, I've stated on my Telegram, from our last further in our companies, we've had 20K days, 30K days, we've had 100K weeks. So how are you going to sit there and explain to a guy who makes 25K a year that you made everything he works for in a year in one day? That's his equal change. That's what he's used to, right? So now when you talk to him about this or you show him this, it opens up his perspective. It's like, well, you know what? That is actually possible, right? So this is why people need to get out of their circles and be around other high-performing people. And that's the beautiful thing about what we've built now with the peak performance mastery, right? They're all around other people who are dominating their sectors, which is showing them what you still have a step to go, right? There's 8-figure entrepreneurs in the group. There's 7-figure entrepreneurs in the group, 6-figure entrepreneurs. They're all peak at, like, doing amazing in their fields, but they start to understand due to what? Naturally being in an environment of other high-performing people, naturally, what does that do to you? It makes you want to become a high performer as well.
I even remember in one of the retreats that we went to a while back, everyone was talking about the different businesses that they're into. This guy's an e-com business, this guy's a construction company. Like, the energy that was there in the room, everyone was like, I want to do something greater. Like, there's just, especially just being just around and speaking to, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And you're there like, yeah, I'm here with my, couple 6 figures a year. And when someone's there doing multiple 7, maybe even 8 figures a year, it's, it's not a spillover effect. I don't know what you call it, but it's like the energy just kind of like, it
bounces back.
It bounces back all over the room. So it's like, oh, yeah, this got this idea. Like, even for example, me, you, Said Hudayfa, Said Imran as well, sitting in a room together, just ideas, the way they just bounce each other, because what? There's that energy and there's like a common factor of wanting to grow. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because if I sit in a room with someone that's like making 10K a month or maybe 5K or 3K a month, his mind is clogged to a certain degree.
That's the problem, right? I've noticed that it's funny because the guys who make between like 10 to like 100K are way more confident and think they have more knowledge than the guys that even make 7 figures yearly.
Yeah.
Wallahi al-Adim, it's so strange. It's why personally I've decided not to work one-to-one with anyone who makes below 6 figures, because they're still on this thing where they think they're doing amazing and, life is great and, I'm sick. I'm so much more better than I am. And it's like, I don't have time to, again, break down to him, explain to him why he could be performing at a much higher level. Later, he will see that after his bottleneck starts to show, right? But it's like when you're dealing with these 7-figure guys, it's like they just come to you straight a lot of times, 6 and 7-figure guys, right? The higher 6-figure guys and the 7-figure guys. Just come, like, it's like, bro, I could be performing at a high level and I know I'm just not performing at my best, right? It's clear. They do not stay around these sort of people, right? That I'm telling you, there's nothing more destructive than staying in a room of people that you are better than. There's nothing more destructive. And in many situations in my life, and I'm talking about better than as like a human being, etc. I'm talking financially here, and in regards to the lens of entrepreneurship. There's many times in my life where I was always around people that I was far more wealthier than. They made me feel like I could have everything in the dunya. They made me feel like I didn't need to work as much. Does that make sense? But when you start to put in yourself in other circles, it's like, look, I'm my greatest bottleneck. I can do so much more. Does that make sense? Like, you're speaking, and I've said it, this is where I realized that performance is everything. I remember there's a guy who basically, essentially I was competing against. His technicals are better than me. Far better than me. I'm telling you, far, far, far better than me. I used to get my students to learn technicals from him. He was so much better than me in technicals. When I say technicals, I'm talking about things like marketing, sales, product, research, blah, 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 blah. His technicals were on a mad level. But every single year in revenue, I used to beat him. Every single year, I still beat him in revenue because I'm able to perform at a higher level than he can. And that's the truth of the matter. There's guys, again, I study from that. I make more money than. Right? They have better technicals than me, but I perform at a higher level than them. So I'm still studying the technicals from them, but with my performance, I'm always going to beat them. And that's the truth of the matter. I know it sounds horrible, but it's just the truth. People who can perform will always do better at the highest level, at their peak, and are constantly every day fulfilling their potential. And they've learned the laws of performance. They're operating at a far quicker and better rate. I always say it's like trying to compare someone who drives manual to automatic. Yeah, they can both drive, but one just drives with a lot more ease.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. If you are an entrepreneur making at least 5 to 10K per month and you're looking to scale your company, you're looking to add an extra zero to your company, then go in the description and click the link to join the Peak Performance Mastery. You see, for a long time, us entrepreneurs have been fooled with the motive that what? To grow our company, we need our better technicals, we need better sales, better marketing, better all of these technical skills. But the truth is you do not rise to the level of your technicals, you fall to the level of your performance. And we both know if you were able to perform at the highest level you can, if you were able to fulfill your potential, your company would be much, much more bigger. It's not technical knowledge you need, it's performance skills you need to adopt. So if you would like to learn the laws of performance that have allowed me and my clients to add an extra zero to their company revenue, then click the link in the description and book a call with myself.
Just a question then for maybe people that aren't familiar with the podcasts. What do you define? I probably think it's a good idea we define it in every podcast, but what do you define as peak performance?
Yeah, I think peak performance is misunderstood, definitely. What people need to understand about you performing at your peak, people think it's about biohacking. It's about, getting this best version, making sure you've slept enough hours and, you've had the specific diet and you've drank all the specific liters you need to in a day. It's not what peak performance is about. Is it an aspect where we focus on like your physiological performance? Of course, but that's an aspect of performance. And to look at performance from that scope is, like I said, it's a reductionist mindset. It's looking at things from a very narrow perspective. That's one section. Your life and body is a system. Does that make sense? Right? Your business is a system. So the base simply of biohacking is nonsense, right? But peak performance is being able to perform at the highest level regardless of how many hours you slept, right? Regardless of, whether you had an argument with your wife or not, okay? Or, regardless of whether she wants a divorce suddenly or not, and I'm using extreme examples here so it really hits home, or regardless of whether you lost a big contract or big client, or, business isn't going away, or you just lost your whole team. It's being able to perform at the highest level regardless.
Okay, you mentioned before that certain people are comfortable. Like, realistically speaking, in terms of personal living, a person doesn't really need more than 1, 2, 3, 6 figures a year. Would you say that's right?
A person doesn't need more than 6 figures.
Yeah, 100K a year. Like, he's good, him and his family.
You could survive on 25K, yeah.
No, like, he's chilling, and he's
comfortable. Yeah. But even then, in certain parts of the country, you could.
So why would I even go into the next level? Why would I try to even, like, I know I can do more. I know I can make the 8 figures, but why should I even do that in the first place? Why should I try to unlock peak performance?
It all goes back down to the vision. I think if your vision isn't clear and you're not fully understanding of what you're trying to build and what you're trying to achieve, then just stop at 6 figures, make 6 figures every year. But for the people who care and are trying to build something crazy and monumental, there's different footballers. I always give the example. You have the Jadon Sanchos, you have the Marcus Rashfords. You know what I'm saying? You have the smaller guys, even the Luke Shaws. They're good, right? I don't know about the new football players. Forgive me. I can only name the ones I know from back in the day. And from the names I've named, I'm sure you could tell I used to be a United fan. But you have your Paul Pogbas. And then you have Cristiano Ronaldo. You have Lionel Messi. You have Luka Modric. You have Toni Kroos. Why do I say you have your different kind of players? Yeah, like some of them are all of them are football players. All of them are professional football players. All of them are decent players. But the day you ever compare Ronaldo to Rashford, wallahi, I'll stick your head in the ground. Of course. What kind of stupidity is that? Does that make sense? Ronaldo, till this age, is trying and fighting to be the peak. Again, you have your boxers like the Mike Tysons, the Muhammad Ali, and then you have guys like Anthony Joshua. You can't the game is different to them. Some of these guys are just in it, they make the money, cut their bread with their family, etc. Other ones, then the big names we just mentioned, like the MJs of the basketball, Michael Jordan, what's this guy that died as well, Kobe Bryant, different level in the field. You can't compare them.
Competition is irrelevant.
100%. This is what I refer to as like elite performers. They have worked so hard to reach the top of the field. The top of their field. They are looking to get to the top of their field, to dominate at the highest level. They're constantly pushing themselves to the test. It's not about the trophy solely to them or the next. No, it's about every day putting on the best performance they can.
It's all about themselves.
Exactly. They're competing with themselves. And you see this with elite performers. Like even when, people call Ronaldo selfish because of it, because there's multiple games in where his team wins, but because he didn't perform, he's kicking himself and he's frowning off the pitch, and people say he has a bad team spirit. No, he's an elite performer, right? I'm not pleased if my company is performing at a high level and I'm not, of course that's not possible in a business setting, but with a team, it is a football team. Your team can still perform regardless of whether you're performing, because there's 11 men on the pitch. You might have a bad day, they might have an amazing day. I'm still going to be upset with myself, right? Performance is something that's individual and it's personal, right? And when you learn to become an elite performer, you learn that these guys, like I mentioned, they can touch anything and become successful. These average guys, they touch certain things. And as a result of these people who don't want to build, it's because they become comfortable. And the thing that you should never ever allow as an entrepreneur and as a Muslim is comfort, right? And if you look at it, why do I say as a Muslim and as an entrepreneur? First of all, even Islamically, it's been built within us that whatever we should do with ihsan. The Prophet ﷺ mentions in a hadith that Allah Allah loves that when a slave does something, he does it to the best of his ability. He seeks to do it in its best manner, whatever it may be. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to aim to be the best that I think. Whatever I do, I'm going to give it its haqq, and I'm going to aim to perform at its peak. I view my life, I view my business, I view meetings with the same. How can I do this in the best way possible? And that's the mentality you must come with. Does that make sense? That's how you achieve. It's an aspect of performance, right? Strategic. You're being smart. How can I actually blow this out? Does that make sense? As much as possible. So it's the mentality. And for me, that's the same thing. You can be a husband. I'm not interested in being a husband. I'm interested, I always say, for me, the criteria is what is the best husband, the best son, the best brother to my brother, the best brother to my sister as well, right? The best brother to my Islam, brothers in Islam, the best brothers to my sisters. My goal is to be the best in every field. I'm trying to be elite. Does that make sense? Across the board. Does that make sense? So what you notice about, the best leader, the best, again, follower as well, the best at serving, which is something that I take immense credit to. Although I'm a leader, and again, I serve. And I always want to be the best at service when it comes to my mentors, right? When it comes to the people that lead me, I'm trying to be number one in service. That is the mentality, because that is something that's come down from Islam. It's been embedded in us. When you wish for something, if you're going to ask for Jannah, ask for Jannah Firdaus. We are not meant to coast. We are meant to what? Achieve peak performance. And the only way to achieve your peak is to follow a set of extremely strict laws. To be free, you must be disciplined first. And when you look at the leaders, whether you're looking at the Roman Empire, whether you're looking at it from a Stoic perspective, whether you're looking at it from an Islamic paradigm, we only started to lose Islamically when we became comfortable, when we stopped challenging ourselves, when the fitna came to us, when we started to accept these means of comfort, we started to overindulge. Every single, I want you to look at any single regime, any single power, nation. When they lost, when they started to overindulge. So the whole point, a lot of the times when people have become comfortable at 5 or 6 figures and they stop growing, it's because naturally they're overindulging in things. And not until they give up overindulgence and become strict. You know what I always say? For me, it's not about having money so I can do everything I want. It's about having money so I can do everything I want, but still choosing not to. That's where the success and the power comes from, and the ability to perform. The fact that you do not become subject to your desires, right? Because at a time, before I started to practice Islam, I had money and I had access to desires, right? It opens it up a lot more, and you become destroyed and you start to lose based off of what you're following your desires, right? But it's when you build it and you have it, but you get the nerves to be able to say no. No, we're not overindulging today. No, we're not going out to eat today. No, we're not buying this thing. Or no, we're not going out with this person, etc. You're punishing yourself. You're just living with strict laws in a way. And if you look at it, Islam does it perfectly with Muslims, right? We live by strict laws, which allows us to be so free, right? So it makes no sense. When I tell people the only way to be free is to live by a strict set of laws, I'm going to give you an example, right? In order to have as much energy, is it not freedom to have as much energy in a day? So in order to have that freedom, you have to be strict with the time you go to sleep. Does that make sense? So to have that freedom to do anything you want to in the day, to have the energy, you have to have the strictness to go to bed on time. To be able to have the freedom to lift weights and be strong and do etc., you have to have the discipline to take care of your body and to take care of your diet. You cannot be free. Is a sick person free? They say, a healthy man has 1,000 wishes, a sick man only has one. He just wants to become healthy. He's not free, right? He's imprisoned to what his body can and can't do, has the ability to do. How did they get there a lot of times with the sickness? Because they were living free. So now, because they chose to live free, now they have to live what? Stuck, imprisoned. But we choose strictness. We choose to live by a set of laws so we can live free forever. Does that make sense?
Okay, so when it comes to, because you're talking about being comfortable, okay? You're talking about being comfortable, etc., etc. One of the ways that we'd be comfortable is going back to the topic of escapism that we talked about before, okay? One of the ways of escaping is confirmation bias. So when you basically do or put yourselves in situations to make yourself comfortable with where you are currently, okay? So for example, certain people would naturally or forcefully put themselves in these echo chambers, for example, because they get that validation. That's what they're looking for.
This is Bani Adam. We like to be the smartest person in the room. We like to be the strongest people in the room. That's why you see bullies, who do they tend to chill with? We're weak people, right? Because that is what gives them the ability and their drive to become what they are, right? So naturally, this is how people are. In our asl, we love to what? We love to be the best in the room. We love to be the most intelligent in the room. We love to be the strongest in the room. But that's destructive. And that's the truth of the matter. Because when you are that person, you can't grow. You can't improve because you have no reason to. And if you're not improving, what happens naturally? You're regressing. So it's a constant circle of these echo chambers A lot of times, again, they come from people just wanting to be comfortable. And the only way to break out of the comfort is to actually get out of the echo chambers, right? And to understand that at the end of the day, whoever you are right now, and I always tell people, right, you're very praiseful of yourself, right? You think you've achieved a lot. You know, I make dua every day to Allah that I haven't reached my full potential. Of course, if this is my full potential, that's sad. Bro, I'm under 30 as is clear, I'm sure, to everybody. And if I've reached my full potential, so what's the point in life, right? I'm praying to Allah that my potential continues to multiply. And we do this through, again, our protocols of increasing, of course, with dua and increasing our performance, leveraging our performance and leveraging the time we perform to, again, increase our potential, right? Potential is equal to performance to the power of time. Results is equal to performance, with the power of time, right? And then you have results, which is equal to what? Potential minus interference. So we're trying to remove as many interferences as possible, increase our potential to get the best level of performance possible. So what I'm trying to say is you have to get rid, of course, of these echo chambers. You have to, and that's one of the things, one of the ways to actually learn is called contextual shifting, all right? Meaning you've actually put yourself in a space of different people, and that's how you learn. And that's why I told you I love the community that we built with the Peak Performance Mastery Program, because now that they're in this community full of different people, it's the same thing when it happened with Mind Control. They were so much more hungrier. They're like, I feel like when I'm in my circle, I feel like I'm doing amazing. Then when I'm in this circle, I feel, whoa, like I need to do more. A guy's just telling me he built this today, right? Again, even one of my clients yesterday, he sent me a screenshot. He revenued 15K alarm Barrick after working with me one-to-one. He reached his peak month ever. We set the goal, and this is what we do. That was his yearly goal, to revenue 20K through that specific product. And I said, no, we're going to do that in 3 months. And from Allah's fadl, he's about above halfway through in just, I think it's week 4, alhamdulillah. So he's reached 13 Kray Alam Barak. We ask Allah to increase him and bless him. Guys, say Alam Barak as well. And all I did when he sent me the message, I go, Alam Barak. It was a good achievement, but it's to set in stone, like, okay, right? And with my guys, I even doubled down, right? I'll send them a screenshot of like my another client making 40 grand this month. And you know, you still have work to do. It's to show them that, yes, you're doing well. And it's not to like bring them down. No, we praise. We've done something. We've accomplished something. But can we do better? And even forget that guy who made 40 grand a year. But do you and yourself know you could do better? Because this is what you learn about elite performance. The biggest person they're in competition with is themselves. They're always trying to perform better than yesterday. If we scored a hat trick last week, we're trying to score 6 this week. Does that make sense? Every week is an opportunity to perform far better. And that's why we do feedback loops, etc., which is the next podcast, inshallah. But there's so much to talk about, right? SubhanAllah, that feedback loop podcast is going to be so crazy. I think that's going to be the thing that's going to take us out of the hood, bro. Already out the hood. But yeah, alhamdulillah from Allah's fadl, man. But yeah, I think that will blow people's mind away, because although we've been giving you guys gems, there's a lot of things that we haven't done justice to. But I've made the decision. I talked to Hamid as well. We're done with the rookie side of the game. I think we've given them the foundation.
Watch the first 7, 8 podcasts.
Watch all of those
even
episodes.
The 6-figure guys, 7-figure guys, watch those too.
Yes, it's still important. This one as well, watch it. But from next week on, there's no games. There's no more games.
You know something that gave me like a perspective? So today, obviously, again, I'm always trying to improve. So I was looking at what are some COO, like executive tasks, and what are the KPIs you should track, et cetera, to help you grow as a COO. And as the qualification questions, right? Like we usually have disqualification questions. For most, consultants courses, 5 to 10K a month, if you're doing that. You know what that like unqualified was? You're making under $1 million a year. Khalas. Like it gives you perspective that their barrier to entry, like minimum, like, yeah, maybe I'll take you on if you're doing $1 to $3 million a year. That's maybe. It just gives you perspective.
And do you know what's funny as well, yeah? Like, I just want to say this just to open people's mind. I deal with guys that get gassed for making 40 grand a month. One of our services costs 40 grand per service. I like to open up people's mind, right? And it's a very, alhamdulillah, from Allah's fadl, it's something that it doesn't take me and the company. It doesn't take us a lot to fulfill. So the margins are, alhamdulillah, very high, right? 40 grand in one transaction. And that's just normal. People that's somebody's year. That's somebody's month, one transaction. I'm saying this to provide perspective. The world is bigger. You can do more. I'm not saying everyone should chase wealth and try to make 40 grand in one position straight away, but it's rather to open up, especially the minds of entrepreneurs, that you can do more. More can be done. Right? I remember when I started to chill in these, I used to I was even on call with one of my younger clients. May Allah bless him. I love him so much, bro, from Canada. Yeah, he's very young. I think he's like 15, 16 maximum, something like this. And, him being on his journey along Berk, he has working with us. He's generated over 10 figures, over 10k per month. He generated over 10k per month along Berk. Through working with us, Walillahi alhamd. We took him, I think he started at 4K.
Yeah, I think he's 17. Yeah.
17 now.
Yeah.
Okay. He came in when he was 16. So.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Yeah, he was started at like 2 to 4K, something like that. We worked with him. Yeah, scaled. I don't even think it was up to that. We worked with him, scaled his operations. Now he's about 10, 12k in revenue, 8 to 12k around that in revenue per month. But the crazy thing is, one of the things that I mentioned to him was I was talking about some of my regrets, because he Alon Beg is very good at asking questions. So he sort of asked me to, like some of the things that I regret and things that he should be focused on now. Because the problem with me is when I was 15 and I was 16, I thought I knew everything. And entrepreneurs still have this disease today. I deal with 30-year-olds who have the same disease. They think they don't know anything. من جهل شيئا عداه, as the ulama say.
They think they don't, or
They think they do know everything, right? من جهل شيئا عداه, as the ulama say. The one who doesn't know something is an enemy of it. The thing you don't know is your greatest enemy, because that's the thing that's stopping you from reaching that full potential, right? That's the thing that it's such an enemy to you, because that you don't know it and you think you're fine. You think you know, right? And that's the problem with, I deal with these guys all the time. It's like, yeah, but I know how to work with myself. Have you studied it? How can you know, right? Imagine me saying, yeah, I've been Muslim for ages and I know how to be a good Muslim. It's like, did you study? No. Even no matter how long you've been doing business, this is something, if you want to, it has to be studied, right? It baffles me that people think that they can gain everything just from experience. Does that make sense? You can't gain everything just from experience. You still have to study. Does that make sense? And that's something that I want people to take home. Even yourself, performance, you have to study. There's no, I've learned through certain protocols and books. No, the same way you go and you take course, you have to learn. Otherwise, it will be your greatest bottleneck. Tamam.
SubhanAllah. Okay, I want to talk about another aspect, because I know it does affect a lot of entrepreneurs, even the 6-7 figure guys, because it's family, okay? Family and the distraction of family. Because again, this is now something where we're going
into... There's no bigger echo chamber than your bloody family.
We're going into a constraint, right? That books don't talk about really, but it's real. It's actually something that holds you back, because they're going to start, because again, why? They don't have the mindset that you're trying to develop. How do you push that aside, still give them their hack, and still manage to be at peak performance?
I'll say one thing. I regret how I treated my parents in my younger years. I think I've stated this multiple times. So now, for the rest of my life, I've made the decision to what? تحت رجلتهم. I've made the decision to spend my life under their feet, right? And that doesn't mean this fake concept of birrul walidain people preach that I talk to my mother before making a decision as to, what apartment I'm going to move to, and I let her have the final decision. No, I might consult her, but it doesn't mean I have to speak to my mum before I do everything like these men of today. My brother, subhanAllah, he's a big entrepreneur, Alon Barik, and he said something, he was interested in one of the programs, and he goes, yeah, let me ask my mum first. Allah, I looked at this guy with sheer pity and embarrassment for him. And these are the type of brothers that I'd never give my sister, to be honest. Before my sister goes out, he's going to be like, let me call my mum first. What kind of manners that? What kind of rujula is that? But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I've made the decision to spend my life underneath their feet. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to agree with everything they say, but I'm going to let them finish. Does that make sense? Sometimes our parents, they just want to finish, right? Doesn't mean we have to agree. We just need to give them attention and hear what they have to say. 99% of it could be waffle, but that 1%, like it has in my life, could absolutely change your life. So a lot of the times when I'm speaking to my parents, even if it's 99% waffle, something they're saying, and it doesn't, alhamdulillah, my parents are actually very switched on, alhamdulillah. My mother and my father, they understand the concept of business very well, alhamdulillah, and they're switched on, right? But even, let's say, I talk to me about a certain topic, and I believe it's 99% waffle, I'm still listening openly and attentively for that 1% that may benefit me. Right? And I've stopped trying to, especially in the beginning of the journey, the biggest advice I have, don't try to change your family's perspective through your tongue. Change it through your actions. When you achieve performance and you're working hard and you're building a business, so what? They start to have more leeway with you. Like, my mom doesn't care if I take out the trash anymore or not. Like, although it's still my role, I'm the man of the house, but, it could be delegated to my other siblings now. Does that make sense? My mom doesn't care if I, help clean. Like, no, she doesn't care anymore. This perspective, he's building this thing. This is what he does, and this is his role. You only get that through proving yourself, of course. So what I have to say to entrepreneurs dealing with family, you speak with your family, act nicely with them, be patient with them. But again, make sure your echo chamber is bigger than your family. So every time your family is doing a little bit of the conditioning, just go back to your society, go back to your people, and wash away the conditioning that they've done, right? Especially in the beginning, like I was raised, although my parents are business people, it's so funny because they raised me on such a academic mentality. Wallahi al-Adim. And it's funny because they're such business-oriented people. My father and my mother, right? My mother's been around business her whole life. Her father was a big businessman. He had his own business. Alhamdulillah. My dad, who she then married, was ended up being a massive businessman. And in the beginning, he was already in business as well, right? So my mom's been around business her whole life. She's played the role of COO her whole life, right? So although they were so surrounded by business, all they preached to me was an academic life, you know? So I had to go away and just unconditioning the conditioning that they do and and I'd just be learning, reading the books, watching the videos, the podcasts. I'd make like podcasts like this, stuff like this. I made that like my family, right?
So in this instance, تؤمن ببعض الكتاب وتكفر ببعض
Oh,
الكتاب.
100%. Yeah.
You can believe in part of what they say.
100%. No, look, no one has it 100%. Other than, of course, the Prophet ﷺ, the deen. But other than that, no one has it 100%. Well, like, I sit there all the time. You know, you've seen people ask me questions. I go, bro, that's not my field. I don't know. Ask me performance, I can tell you. Business, I can tell you. This thing you're asking, I don't know, bro. Like, I ain't married. Right, I don't have kids. I have a nephew. I know what that feels like, but I still know it's not the exact same. I practically raised my nephew, and he slept on my chest. Right, growing up, I like to let him know that. Yeah, but the point is, what I'm trying to establish is I don't have it all figured out either. I speak in my realm, and that's what you have to understand. Our parents are good in certain realms in terms of experience, age, and being able to make decisions, effective decisions, and things. Our parents are very good because they have years on us. And I always say this: it's a fool who doesn't respect years. Only a foolish one will not respect years. I don't care what I know more than you, how much I've revenued more than me. If you're older than me, I respect your years because I know there's certain things you've seen in life that it's impossible to me to have seen because of my age.
Which age and experience as well. So it's actually one of the things in
Experience is useless, but I'll cover that in the next feedback podcast. Experience is absolutely useless. Stay tuned for the next episode, Feedback Loops. Experience is absolutely useless. Just had to emphasize, Habibi, you know? Gotta get them ready, excited for next Saturday, inshallah. By the way, guys, just before we end off, inshallah, I want to let you guys know we have launched, alhamdulillah, our membership group. So we have the performance school that's now open and ready for you guys to join. Now, honestly, this is a school that's meant to help everyone achieve peak performance. So if you're an entrepreneur, no matter what level you're at, watch the content. We've dropped amazing content there. Again, you're in a group with other entrepreneurs, etc., like-minded people. So make sure you go ahead and you attend, inshallah. Join the community, see what it's like. It's benefited so many people, alhamdulillah, in the sort of soft launches we've done. Now it's time to benefit yourself. Go there. We're posting crazy content. There's even going to be sections of the podcast that we're now going to have to start hiding the more advanced stuff to just our community. There's members, different people from different areas and different, fields that are going to be coming on as well and speaking about their performance in their life, how they things they've done to leverage their performance, etc. We're going to be looking at their companies, and we are also going to be helping you with business information as well, which is something I'm excited to do. Alhamdulillah, I've been mentoring business with some of my performance coaching clients, but it's been a while since I hosted a business seminar, right? So we're going to have our business classes there as well. Make sure you attend bi'idhnillah al-kareem. And guys, anything else from your side?
Nah, that should be it, inshallah ta'ala. Just stay tuned for that next.
The next episode is going to be juicy, inshallah.
Crazy,
okay,
inshallah.
barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.